When you think 1970 muscle cars, the headlines always scream Chevelle SS, GTO Judge, or the Trans Am screaming chicken. But here's the truth nobody wants to admit. Only a handful of these big block brutes were built to truly rule the street. The rest were just loud badges. Deep in GM's shadowy corners, inside skunkworks shops, dealer backrooms, and race team garages, a tiny number of big block monsters escaped the factory. Some were built on paper only to skirt insurance sharks. Others slipped through special order forms. Every one of them was faster, nastier, and meaner than they had any right to be. This is your backstage pass to 8 of the rarest big block GM beasts that absolutely destroyed everyone who dared line up next to them. Buckle up. By the end, you'll know why these freaks still haunt the dreams of every muscle car fan who wishes they'd been born 20 years earlier. Top 1. 1970 Chevelle SS 454 LS6 convertible. When people talk about the greatest factory big blocks to ever roll out of Detroit, the Chevelle SS454 LS6 is always in the conversation. But there's a version so rare most muscle fans have never seen one in the wild, the LS6 convertible. Just around 20 of these open-air monsters ever made it off the lot, turning an already untouchable street legend into an ultimate drop-top unicorn. On paper, the Chevelle SS454 LS6 was the king of the street in 1970. Chevrolet gave this beast an iron-fisted 450 cubic inch V8, solid lifters, an aggressive cam, forged pistons, an aluminum intake manifold, and a Holley 4-barrel carburetor that drank premium fuel by the gallon. The LS6 was officially rated at 450 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque, numbers that made it the highest horsepower GM muscle car you could buy with a warranty. Drop that brute into a convertible, and you got the full experience. No roof, just the open sky and a cowl induction hood feeding cold air to a motor built for the drag strip. Backed by an M22 Rock Crusher 4-speed and 4-ton posi rear, the LS6 ragtop could nail 0 to 60 in about 5.5 seconds and blast the quarter mile in the low 13s on skinny bias-ply tires. The inside was classic Chevelle. Simple black buckets, a floor console, and a big round tack that dared you to bury the needle. Most LS6 convertibles were thrashed on the streets, blown up or scrapped when the oil crisis hit. Survivors with matching numbers and original drivetrains are nearly impossible to find today. They've become the holy grail for Chevelle collectors. If one shows up at auction today, it's not shocking to see bids pushing well past $500,000. This is what happens when you combine brute force, open skies, and a number so small you can count it on your fingers. But if you think Chevy's drop-top brute was the only one packing factory freak power, wait until you meet the Yenko Nova, a compact that carried a sledgehammer under its hood and left plenty of bigger cars gasping for air. Top 2, 1970. Yenko Nova 427. It was small, unassuming, and built like a grocery getter, but under the skin, the 1970 Yenko Nova 427 was a straight-up street assassin. Fewer than 40 were ever built, and almost none survived the punishment they were unleashed to deliver. Don Yenko had already terrified the streets with his modified Camaros and Chevelles, but by 1970, the Nova became his lightest and most dangerous weapon. Chevrolet officially banned factory-installed big blocks in the Nova SS, so Yenko used the Central Office Production Order COPO system to work around it. The result? A Nova with a 427 cubic inch L72 V8 transplanted under the hood, pushing 425 horsepower and over 460 pound-feet of torque. Most came with Muncie M21 or M22 4-speeds and 4.1 gears out back. Drop the clutch, and this 3,000-pound sleeper would annihilate tires and rivals in the quarter mile. Low 12s were possible, with slicks and guts. Visually, it was pure stealth. Just a Yenko decal set, rally wheels, and a cowl induction hood. Inside, it was stripped, no frills, just bucket seats and a dash ready for business. Because of GM's new emissions regulations and insurance crackdowns, most dealers backed off big block Novas. That makes the 70 Yenko Nova 427 not just the rarest of Yenko's big block creations, but arguably the meanest. Many were wrecked, raced, or parted out by the mid-70s. Today, any real deal 1970 Yenko Nova 427 with paperwork is a six-figure time bomb of muscle car history. Surviving examples are few, and when they change hands, they don't go quietly. Some have topped $400,000 at auction. But while the Nova may have played the underdog role perfectly, Pontiac wasn't about to be left in the dust, and their next move was to take their flagship Firebird and give it the most savage Ram Air treatment of the decade. Top 3. 1969 Firebird Trans Am Ram Air 4. It looked like a gentleman's muscle car, but beneath the white paint and blue stripes, the 1969 Firebird Trans Am Ram Air 4 was a snarling, underrated beast. Pontiac built just 8 of them with this engine configuration. Yes, 8, and every single one was a time bomb on wheels. 1969 marked the debut of the Trans Am nameplate, and Pontiac went all in on racing flair. The design was restrained but aggressive, polar white with twin blue racing stripes, a functional hood scoop, subtle spoilers, and fender vents. The interior was classic GM, wood-trimmed dash, rally gauges, and high-back bucket seats with optional tack and console shifter. But the real story was under that vented hood. While most Trans Ams came with the Ram Air 3, a lucky handful received the mythical Ram Air 4, a 400 cubic inch V8 rated at 345 horsepower, but in reality capable of much more thanks to round port heads. An aggressive cam, aluminum intake, and a Holley 800 CFM carb. Mated to a close ratio 4-speed and 4.33 gears, this featherweight Firebird could tear through the quarter mile in the high 13s on bias-ply tires. With only 8 Ram Air 4 Trans Ams reportedly built, most muscle collectors dismissed them as a rumor. Until VINs began surfacing. Several were ordered by hardcore racers or Pontiac insiders, and few survived without being gutted, crashed, or parted out. Today these cars are among the rarest high-performance Pontiacs ever created. One confirmed survivor sold privately for over $1 million, making it a true blue-chip investment for GM muscle historians. But while Pontiac played it cool with refinement and engineering, Chevy was about to unleash something completely unhinged. A street-legal COPO monster with drag strip DNA and a name whispered with fear. Top 4. 1969 Camaro COPO 427 ZL1. It was the most expensive Camaro in 1969, and nobody knew why. No flashy stripes, no SS or Z28 badges. It looked like your neighbor's grocery getter. But it wasn't. This was the ZL1, a 500-horsepower missile born in secrecy and built to terrorize drag strips. The secret weapon lay in Chevrolet's COPO, Central Office Production Order, loophole. Intended for fleet or police options, COPO allowed a handful of dealers like Fred Gibb to shoehorn an experimental all-aluminum 427 cubic inch V8 codenamed ZL1 into a humble Camaro body. Rated at 430 horsepower on paper, the real output was closer to 525 horsepower. The engine was developed for Can-Am racing and weighed about 100 pounds less than the Iron Block 396, giving the ZL1 better front-rear balance and quicker reflexes. Backed by a Muncie 4-speed, heavy-duty suspension and a 12-bolt rear with 4.1 gears, it was a factory-built quarter-mile killer. Most came painted in low-key colors like Le Mans Blue or Cortez Silver. Some had rally wheels, others just dog-dish hubcaps. Inside it was bare. No tack, no frills, just vinyl buckets, a floor shifter, and maybe a radio, if you paid extra. Because the ZL1 package pushed the price to over $7,200, 0 cents more than a Corvette, most dealers couldn't sell them. Of the 69 units built, many sat unsold, and a few had their exotic engines pulled and swapped into race cars. The rest were bought by serious racers who immediately flogged them on the strip. Today, surviving ZL1s are unicorns. Well-documented examples routinely fetch $700,000 to over $1 million, with ultra-low-mile originals going even higher. They've become the crown jewels of the Camaro kingdom. But if the ZL1 was the king of hidden power, the next GM beast didn't even try to hide. It was loud, brutish, and wore its menace on plain steel sleeves. Top 5. 1969 Chevy Biscayne 427 L72. No stripes, no badges, no chrome. The 1969 Chevy Biscayne 427 L72 was the ultimate wolf in workman's clothing. A full-size sedan that could destroy Corvettes, then cruise to the lumberyard like nothing happened. It didn't look fast, but it absolutely was. The Biscayne was Chevrolet's entry-level full-size car, Cheap, basic, built for fleets, it was the blank canvas of the Chevy lineup. But in 1969, a few insiders discovered a COPO loophole. They checked the right boxes and built monsters. Big block 427 L72 engines stuffed into stripped-down, no-nonsense sedans. The L72 was a beast. 427 cubic inches, solid lifters, 11.1 compression, and a factory rating of 425 horsepower, though real output exceeded 450 horsepower. Paired with a Muncie 4-speed, 4.1 pause traction, and 0 luxury weight, it ran low 13s in the quarter mile. Some tuned examples broke into the 12s, shocking GTOs and Mopars with nothing but hubcaps and dog-dish wheels. The sleeper look was perfect: painted bumpers, plain grille, and maybe a bench seat inside. No SS badges, no hint of menace. Until it launched. Chevy never promoted these cars. Most were sold to drag racers, police departments, or savvy enthusiasts who wanted to go fast for cheap. Very few were documented. Many were driven hard, wrecked, or stripped for parts. Only about 200-300 units were ever built with this configuration. Surviving L72 Biscaynes are among the rarest GM muscle cars. Fully documented examples with original drivetrains have sold for $150,000 to $200,000 at auction, and prices continue to rise as collectors hunt for the ultimate sleeper. But while the Biscayne was all subtle violence, GM's next big block freak was loud, proud, and impossible to miss, so brutal it turned showroom floors into racetracks. Up 6. 1969 Corvette L88. The 1969 Corvette L88 wasn't just a street car. It was a barely legal race car that came with a warning from Chevrolet: don't buy this unless you know what you're doing. It was expensive, uncomfortable, and dangerous, exactly what made it legendary. At the heart of this beast sat the L88 427 cubic inch V8, officially rated at 430 horsepower, but dyno-tested well over 550 horsepower. Aluminum heads, a solid lifter cam, forged internals, and 12.51 compression meant it ran on 100-plus octane race gas. Pump fuel? Forget it. This engine was built for speed, not compromise. The drivetrain was equally hardcore. M22 Rock Crusher, 4-speed. Positration, rear end. Transistorized ignition, and F41 heavy-duty suspension. No creature comforts allowed. It came without a radio, heater, air conditioning, or even power brakes. GM deleted those to prevent anyone from daily driving what was essentially an NHRA spec car. Visually, it was deceptive. Many were ordered in low-key colors like Monaco orange or Fathom green. The only giveaways were the big hood bulge, optional side pipes, and a certain menace in its stance. To most, it looked like any other Vette. To those in the know, it was a ballistic missile on bias-ply tires. Chevy only made 116 L88s in 1969, and most were immediately put to work on road courses or drag strips. Many were raced, wrecked, or rebuilt. Finding a numbers-matching, unrestored L88 today is nearly impossible. Most survivors are trailered, not driven. Auction prices for original 1969 L88s start around $800,000 and have soared past $3 million, 0 cents. They're not just rare, they're sacred, and few muscle cars ever match their raw, unfiltered fury. But if the L88 was a purebred racer, Buick's heavyweight GSX Stage 1 proved you could still dominate the streets, wearing a tuxedo and torque curve wide enough to crack asphalt. Top 7. 1970 Buick GSX Stage 1. If the Corvette L88 was a barely tamed beast, the 1970 Buick GSX Stage 1 was the gentleman assassin. It wore chrome and pinstripes like a luxury cruiser, but underneath, it packed a torque monster that could destroy anything from the Big Three. The GSX was Buick's bold answer to the muscle car wars, and it didn't whisper, it screamed. With Saturn Yellow or Apollo White paint, bold racing stripes, hood tatch, and spoilers front and rear. But the real weapon was under the hood. A 455 cubic inch Stage 1 V8, conservatively rated at 360 horsepower. The torque? A staggering 510 pound-feet, more than any other American car at the time. This wasn't hype. Road tests clocked the GSX Stage 1 running the quarter mile in 13.3 seconds, trapping at over 105 miles per hour, even with full interior and factory tires. Despite weighing nearly 4,000 pounds, it outran lighter 446 packs 454 Chevelles, and even Hemis in the real world. Inside, it wasn't Spartan like a drag car. Buick loaded it with high-back vinyl buckets, rally gauges, a sport steering wheel, and soft carpet. The GSX didn't sacrifice comfort for performance. It was a true dual-personality machine, executive-level luxury fused with drag-strip brutality. Still, Buick's image worked against it. Most buyers saw Buicks as grandpa cars, not quarter-mile killers. As a result, only 678 GSX Stage 1 units were built in 1970, making it one of the rarest and most misunderstood muscle machines of the decade. Today, it's a collector's gem. Fully restored, matching numbers, GSXs sell for $150,000, $250,000, and pristine low-mileage examples have gone even higher. The GSX is no longer hiding in plain sight. It's a trophy car for those who appreciate silent strength. But Buick's quiet bruiser paved the way for something bolder. Our final entry isn't flashy, isn't famous, but it dared to mix bright paint with attitude. Top 8 1970 Oldsmobile Rally 350. Not every street killer came wrapped in chrome or draped in subtle menace. Some showed up in highlighter yellow, daring you to laugh, right before they smoked your quarter-mile time. The 1970 Oldsmobile Rally 350 was a bold, bright punch in the face of insurance premiums and muscle car monotony. In 1970, high-performance cars were under fire. Insurance companies had started slamming owners with massive surcharges for big block power. Oldsmobile saw an opportunity. Deliver a car with muscle car looks and mid-range muscle without triggering the insurance alarms. Thus, the Rally 350 was born. Based on the Cutlass F85 platform, it came standard with a 310 horsepower 350 Rocket V8, a turbo 350 automatic or 4-speed manual, dual exhaust with bright tips, fiberglass rear and front spoilers, and sport suspension. A 3.42 rear axle gave it solid punch off the line. It was a package designed for real-world street fun, not just spec sheet flexing. And then there was the paint. Sebring yellow wasn't optional, it was mandatory. Everything from the bumpers to the wheels was dipped in yellow, then accented with bold black and orange striping. Even the grille and mirrors were color-matched. Inside, it had bucket seats, rally gauges, and a sport steering wheel. It looked like a Hot Wheels car, but it performed like a legit muscle machine. In testing, it hit 0 to 60 in around 6.5 seconds and ran the quarter mile in the mid-14s. Not blistering, but impressive for a small block aimed at affordability. And on the street, it had the attitude to match anything twice its price. But the strategy didn't quite land. Insurance companies didn't cut it much slack, and buyers either wanted a 442 or nothing at all. The Rally 350 was too radical for some, too modest for others. Sales fizzled, and only 3,547 units were produced. Today, its once ridiculed paint is now a collector's siren call. Restored examples fetch $40,000, $60,000, and clean survivors have become rare garage trophies. The Rally 350 didn't try to fit in, it was built to stand out, and in a sea of chrome and stripes, that yellow blur became unforgettable. If you made it this far, you're not just watching, you're part of the tribe, because here at Top 5 Classic Car, we don't just talk specs. We dig into the machines that broke the rules, the forgotten monsters, the rare legends that left Ferraris in the dust and vanished from the spotlight. This isn't a channel for showroom shine. It's for the factory freaks, the outlaw builds, the backdoor drag specials nobody believed were real until the tires lit up and the quarter mile vanished. If that's your kind of ride, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe, tap that bell, and fuel the fire. We're chasing stories that never made the brochure, but rewrote muscle car history one burnout at a time. Drop your favorite from today's list in the comments, or tell us the next rare beast you want unearthed. Because for us, every ride has a backstory, and we're just getting warmed up.